Hey, it's Travis, and we're here with Fast Track Lesson 11, and we're talking about the fat bus. Yes, why do we have a bulletproof shield? Why did we just go through all that? Why do we have to live up to those components in order to have a perfect day and get into EFB? You know what? It's about controlling and neutralizing that old fat bus. So let's unpack the fat bus so that you have a great understanding of it. This is the stuff they should have taught us in elementary school, but they did not. And it's just so important if you're trying to lose body fat and preserve muscle. First off, we all know this. We got to stop eating so much. We have to operate in a calorie deficit if we're going to be successful at losing body fat and preserving muscle. But just because you're in a calorie deficit does not mean that you'll be losing mostly fat. In fact, if you don't get the right combination of macronutrients, you could lose mostly muscle. Let me unpack with you for a minute why we don't want that to happen. You know, we're already a sugar dependent metabolism when we come to a program like this, or a glucose dependent metabolism, if you will. We want to become a fat dependent metabolism. We want to burn fat as our primary energy source, but we come and we're mostly burning sugar. We got to shift. We got to shift over into fat burning. And there's some things that prevent that from happening. Now, if you don't do things right and you're just operating in a calorie deficit, starvation mode, if you will, you're going to lose mostly muscle. In every pound of muscle, there are 600 calories, units of energy stored in that pound of muscle. And muscle doesn't take up a lot of space as compared to that same pound of fat. You've often heard that question posed, what weighs more, a pound of fat or a pound of muscle? And people say muscle weighs more than fat. No, it don't. A pound is a pound. But here's the deal. That muscle, that pound of muscle takes up a lot less space on the body as does that same pound of fat. So we're working hard through our bulletproof shield to be able to preserve as much of that muscle as we can. If we ever shift and become a protein or muscle dependent metabolism, we're going to muscle waste. We might lose some weight on the scales and might lose it very rapidly, but we're going to look like the same shape when we're done, just a smaller version of the same shape as we're losing muscle. When you lose muscle, you also lose your ability to burn a significant amount of calories at rest. We want to really limit burning muscle or burning protein, if you will. We want to shift and burn fat. Well, there's some things that work against us when we're trying to burn fat. We do have to get in a calorie deficit, but then we have to neutralize the fat bus, which is insulin. Anytime we elevate our blood sugar, then our pancreas has to release some insulin to bring that blood sugar load down so that we don't die. That's right. If your pancreas is not working properly, or you can't get hold of your insulin, if your pancreas isn't working, you go into a diabetic coma and pass away. You have to have insulin. Insulin does a fantastic job when it's introduced at lowering blood sugar and getting your blood sugar back into normal ranges. Okay. But then you've got to deal with the fat bus, and the fat bus doesn't come down very fast. So when insulin, the fat bus, when it's there, it's looking for three things that work against us. It's going to up-regulate your appetite. You're going to be hungrier than you would without those high levels of insulin. The reason you're hungrier is insulin is growth hormone. So your appetite goes up. Efficient fat burning, because you're in a growth mode, efficient fat burning stops. It stops for up to 48 hours. And watch this, you store the fat that you just ingested. So if I have something that's fatty, like a fatty hamburger patty, ground beef, which is mostly fat, if I have that and it breaks down into those fat lipids, and then I have it with a white bun, the whiter the bread, the quicker you're dead, my blood sugar goes up, the insulin drops the blood sugar, but the fat bus is still there, and it picks up all that fat and easily stores it in my fat cells. Even if I'm in a calorie deficit, it's so easy for the body to store that fat. Now, a calorie deficit's better than a calorie surplus, but it still slows the whole process down. So we want to neutralize that old fat bus because it elevates appetite, it stops efficient fat burning, and we store fat. And we don't just store fat at that event, because the insulin doesn't come down rapidly, it tapers down slowly. Takes up to 2 days to get it back normalized after a significant event so that you can efficiently burn fat. So it's tapering down. And while it's tapering down from high levels, any fat that you eat, which is allowed on this program, any fat that you eat is readily available for storage. So we must neutralize the fat bus. And there's all kind of other advanced things that we talk about in the I Am Faithfully Fit classes in relationship to insulin. But for this, if you're just coming to do fast track, take the test, pass test, and earn the badge, and I can help you that way, that's great. I want you to leave knowing what insulin does to work for you and to work against you if your goal is to efficiently burn fat. We're going to learn in these next videos how to neutralize insulin without medications. We're gonna learn how to get into EFB and lock it down and rip off the knob. So in summary, the fat bus, at its introduction, appetite is elevated, fat storage takes place, and we store fat very easily, very readily for up to the next 40 hours. So let's neutralize that with some perfect days. What do you say? I'll see you in the next video.